Zesty, fresh, and easy to drink. Ain't that the truth?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, and today we're gonna get a little bit drunk and we're gonna talk about some things that I watched and read with my eyeballs in July. Cheers! General spoiler warning. I'll be talking spoilers in this video because I don't know how to avoid them. That's a kick in the teeth. So I know that I'm currently drinking wine out of a Stella Artois glass. Artois. And before we go any further, I would just like to say, as a disclaimer, please, if you are going to drink responsibly, and don't drink if you are under the age of 21 in America. Please be mindful of the laws in your own country if you are not from America. Obviously, I don't know the drinking laws in every place around the world, but please adhere to them until you reach the minimum age that you must be to consume alcohol. PSA over. Now let's get actually into the video. It is currently pretty late. It is currently 12:30. I wanted to give the atmosphere of a late night drinking session that you could possibly have with your friends, since we're just gonna sit here and chat for a little bit. I'm currently drinking Yellowtail Pinot Grigio because the cheap stuff, because I am a college student who can't afford nice things. In case things get extra salty in here and I feel the need to tone myself down a little bit, or I say something that is particularly crazy, I'm going to take a shot of this. This is Tortuga Coconut Caribbean Rum. This was a gift from one of my friends who knows I love rum. I'm a rum girl, but I'll be taking it straight up, which I'm not a fan of. And as my shot glass, the only thing that we have in our house that I thought would be remotely funny is a Christmas mug. We'll see if it gets that far. So sit back, relax. This is gonna be a chatty time, and just be ready for me to spill all the tea about everything that I consumed in the month of July. Alright, so I'm going to start off with books first. The first book that I tried to read in the month of July was Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. And let me tell you, I DNF'd this book, which means it's an automatic 1 star for me on Goodreads. Oh boy, this book. What to say about it, really? So the premise of this novel is that it is an adult novel that follows 5 children who have now grown up as adults who save the world from inevitable doom and apocalypse. I love reading YA superhero fiction, so I was particularly drawn to an adult book that covered the trauma that children will go through as they age, especially when they have so much pressure put on them from a very young age. Children need to be children. I actually really disliked this book. I only made it through about 30% of the book before I realized that I would be very unhappy if I continued to read it, and then I read some reviews as well that's basically solidified the fact that I did not want to continue with it, and that I would not continue with it. Let's start at the beginning and go through the parts that I did read. So the prologue is essentially an article from a very misogynistic, horrible guy who is meeting with our main character, Sloane. Sloane is one of the 5 chosen ones who went and saved the world. We learn more about that later, but essentially she's chosen one. She is now an adult. When she was a teenager, she and her companions, the other chosen ones, saved the world from a dark force, which we don't find out about until later. So the beginning of this prologue is an article that he is writing on her. She meets him for an interview, and it goes very poorly. Basically, the way he wrote this article, which is Veronica Roth writing an article from another point of view about a fictional world that she created, is very misogynistic and an immediate turnoff. Just in general, I'm not very interested in misogyny and disrespect towards women, but this was crammed so far down my throat that I almost stopped reading there. But I am someone who considers themselves a fair person, so I had to give it a fair shot, and so I continued reading. We find out that this is an article from another guy, and we're really in Sloane's head, which was honestly a humongous relief. Our main character, Sloane, is the best part of the novel, and she is the only reason I continued to read up until the point I did. She's the only character that felt real at all during this entire experience of me reading the first beginning of it. The big problem is, to me, is that she's dating one of the other chosen ones. His name is Matt. He is the one who saved the world. Great. Lovely. He's America's golden boy, sweetheart, whatever. The world's golden boy, actually, considering he saved all of their asses. And he's black, and so, you know, but he's very boring. You don't really see a lot of his personality, which is interesting because you really should see his personality as he interacts with Sloane as, number 1, her boyfriend, and number 2, they've known each other since they were children, so their interaction should be more developed and more fleshed out and make me feel like they actually know each other, and I'm getting to know him because of what he's saying. It becomes very clear that Matt, I think his name is the guy. Matt knows absolutely nothing about Sloane because he proposes to her in the middle of everyone, which she has been dreading. She actually found the engagement ring before they go to this like party thing, and she like panics because she's like, oh shit, he's going to propose to me, and I'm not a fan of that. And you know what? That's totally valid. You don't have to get married to someone who you're, you know. Basically, there's a lot of pressures from the media, which I understand with celebrity couples, but also at the same time, Matt clearly doesn't know Sloane very well if he's going to do this in front of a whole bunch of people. And then the speech he gives to like propose to her makes it seem like he doesn't know her at all. So there's a lot of complicated issues there that I'm not a fan of. Sloane also glorifies and idealizes Matt in a lot of ways, which I think can be an interesting perspective on it, but I feel like there's also the fact that it wasn't self-aware in that. I didn't get the feeling that this glorification and idealization of Matt was an intentional choice, that eventually there'll become a moment where Sloane realizes that Matt is not who she thought he was, that he is not perfect, that he is not this golden boy, that he has his own issues. And you know what? I'm okay with characters obviously having issues. That's what a plot is. But at the end of the day, I am really not a humongous fan of the fact that it seemed like Veronica Roth was idealizing him a lot. And this kind of leads into my next point, which might be a little bit controversial. But let's get into it. So we're gonna actually back up a little bit, and I'm gonna talk about Veronica Roth as a writer. You may recognize her name from the banger that was Divergent and the other two books that sucked that I'm not going to talk about, but it's fine. She wrote, I think it's called Carve the Mark. I did not read it because I heard horrible things about it. And essentially she got called out for a lot of racist bullshit that's in that book. I can't comment on that. I have not read the book, but the reason I didn't read the book is because I read reviews from people of color who read the book and hated it. So, you know, I'm not going to read a book that I think I'm going to dislike. So I just didn't read it. And I thought maybe, you know, maybe she learned her lesson. However, this book at the beginning, it seemed very much an attempt for Veronica Roth to seem woke. And I'm not here to say that I don't enjoy political conflict and political tones and themes seeping into a book, but it was very poorly done. It was so much so that I felt she was cramming it down my throat in a way that I was like, is this even writing or is this an opinion piece? Which is fine if you have those opinions. It's just I didn't get into this story to read an opinion piece. I'm not in the frame of mind to read an opinion piece, because I'm fine with her reading an opinion piece on issues like this. Not usually from white women, but, you know, I digress. It essentially just felt like her trying to redeem herself after the failure that was Carve the Mark. So that was frustrating because there's very much like moments, and it lacks a nuance to it. It was more of just like, I'm gonna spit repeat things that the media has crammed down my throat at me since I made this mistake, and not actually think on myself and just kind of copy and paste things in here so that they know that I'm woke and they don't come after me again. That's just what it felt like to me, and I was very turned off by that. I would prefer a story that has some nuance to it, and I think that's at the end of the day what this story is really lacking, is generally just lacking nuance and a lot of different threads that would make this a more enjoyable experience, because I don't think the writing is bad, it's just the execution is very poor. And moving on from that, I would really like to know your opinions down in the comments below if you've read Chosen Ones. We're gonna move on to The Big Bad. I put that in air quotes specifically because there is none. There's a lot of ambiguous description of the Big Bad. There's not really any motivation behind the Big Bad. I think he's called the Dark One, which is an incredibly unoriginal name, but I'm not surprised by it. And, you know, it seems like something the media would come up with, so yeah, sure, I'll buy it. Generally, I know nothing about this Dark One. He seemed more like a natural disaster that was killing people, and like, yes, that's horrible, and I feel bad and empathize with those people. It really didn't give me a strong reaction to him like a Voldemort does, or an Umbridge, or since we're not talking about J.K. Rowling anymore, you know, anyone in the Pierce Brown Red Rising series, because everyone in that story has a lot of nuance, a lot of character layers, and essentially anyone you're looking at could possibly be the villain depending on where you're sitting. So that was bad. I didn't care about the villain. I didn't care that they had won. I didn't care that people were dying. I just generally didn't feel much of a connection. I think there's a loss there for me when it comes to the fact that he could have been an interesting character. It could have been an interesting character moment. And it's like, yay! Like, but it's hard to start a story essentially after all the things have happened. You know, it's hard to do that. Just gotta say that, it's hard to do. This book generally read like a young adult novel. It did not read like an adult novel in the slightest. Sloane's voice, while good, is not an adult voice. And I don't think this was on purpose. I think a lot of things that I was getting from this novel were not on purpose, which is a problem because it was not the intention of the author, but that's how it comes off. And I think that's generally why I stopped, because I didn't feel like there was really any motivation from the author in it. And I just really didn't feel driven to continue. It was just generally kind of a boring, lackluster YA novel marketed as an adult novel. And I expect a lot more from adult novels because they have more leniency in the things that you can do in them. They have generally more words, since adult books are generally longer than YA books. And you don't have to cram so much into them. The adult characters can be as nuanced as YA characters are. It's just because YA characters, if they're done right, can be incredibly nuanced. And I think that's important for teenagers to see nuanced versions of themselves in books, just as much as adults need to see nuanced versions of themselves in books. That's just a blanket statement over all literature. But yeah, so this one is a big old nope. Big old nope for me. So the next book I read was Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, and this was a better experience. This book is shorter, it's a contemporary. The description of this book is that it is 1999 and a guy gets a job as a IT kind of dude who is kind of becoming this security guy for the internet at this local newspaper, and he starts to go through some of the emails from some of the workers that have red flag words in them, like, you know, swearing or anything to do with sex or pregnancy, stuff like that. And he starts reading the emails between these two women who work there, Beth and Jennifer. I gave this book a 3.25 stars out of 5. It was generally good. It's a quick read. I literally read it in one day, and I think it's probably worth the check out if you happen to enjoy or think the synopsis that I gave is decent. It had a cute concept. I think it works for Rainbow Rowell's style of writing, and I think the development and characterization of Beth and Jennifer is extraordinary. I could hear their voices in my head as I was reading their email conversations. So the story is told kind of in two chunks. We have the narration conversation between Beth and Jennifer over email, and then we have our main guy's perspective as he falls in love with Beth over the course of him reading her emails. As you can imagine, you can see the problematic part of this book. So, he falls in love with a woman he has never met, and who does not know he exists. Luckily for him, she notices him throughout the office, because he does work in the same building as her, and starts to refer to her as her cute guy, and she really likes him. She thinks he's attractive, blah blah blah, doesn't realize it's him until like 3/4 of the way through the book, which is interesting. And I think the way Rainbow Rowell handled the ending of the book is decent. I think she did a decent enough job making the best of a weird concept, because it's very difficult and you can very easily stray into weirdo territory with a concept like this, with a guy falling in love with a girl that he's never met. I mean, it's sweet in like the sense of, yeah, sure, it's romantic that he like didn't see her and like love her for her body. Although he did see her at one point, didn't realize it was her. Saw her in the cafeteria, thought she was pretty, didn't realize it was her until much later, but I digress. I think the weak parts of this story are really the male point of view. I can't even remember his name. That's how boring he kind of is. I really enjoyed his relationship with his mother and his sister, and then also with this older lady who is a cleaning lady who works at their place. I think her name is Doris. He was boring. I think the book, for me, would have been better if it was just Jen and Beth's relationship, because I love Jeff? Ship name. Just kidding. Jen and Beth's relationship and their friendship, especially as they go through some really difficult times. Beth ends up breaking up with her boyfriend because he's trash. And then Beth has a miscarriage, actually, after not wanting to be pregnant and then pretending she was pregnant and then getting pregnant. It's a whole complicated thing. So in the end, it was generally okay. Not my favorite contemporary. Granted, I don't read many contemporaries, let's be honest. But I think if you like Rainbow Rowell and you like kind of cutesy contemporary stories, I think you might enjoy this book. It was okay. I probably will never read it again, but I liked it better than Eleanor and Park. Hated that book. Now, let's move on to our next category, which is very small. It's movies, and I watched one movie. And you're gonna laugh at me, because my review for this is quite simple. It is murder mystery. I will pop the movie poster for this up here so you know what I'm talking about, since I'm sure 90% of you have probably not seen it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that you probably should not see it. I gave this movie a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Why? Because Adam Sandler is in it, and he is a complete and total asshole. So the premise of this film, in case you wanted to know for some ungodly reason, is that this married couple, she's a hairdresser, he's a cop, he's been failing his detective's exam, which tells you all you need to know about this guy. She wants to go on a vacation with him that he promised her to Europe when they got married. It's their anniversary. He panics, tells her, yeah, sure, we're going to Europe. Lies. They get on the flight, she meets a really rich billionaire, they get on his boat, and a murder occurs. The patriarch of his really rich family ends up murdered on this boat, and chaos ensues. I would describe this movie as Knives Out and Clue on crack, 100% less funny, and could have done without Adam Sandler in the entirety. It's just Adam Sandler's character drags this movie down the toilet. So let's move on to 2 things that I really enjoyed this month. The 2 things that I love this month and kind of saved this month from depressing sadness when it comes to watching things. The first one is the Netflix show Warrior Nun. Oh my god. This show is incredible, amazing. Please go watch it if you haven't already. I will tell you the premise, and then you better click out of this video and go watch it after you hit like and subscribe, of course, because it is incredibly amazing. So a girl dies, she's been brought to a church by the nun who has run the orphanage that she's been staying at, and essentially that's where we begin. So you think, oh, interesting, okay, don't know what's gonna happen here. Cue the warrior nuns! They don't waste any goddamn time giving me exactly what I signed up for. I signed up for warrior nuns, they gave me warrior nuns. And let me tell you, the costume design on this fucking show is insane. It is off the hook. It is gorgeous. So awesome. Look at these beautiful ladies. Look at these beautiful ladies. It's great. Shotgun Mary, awesome. Lilith, awesome. It's wonderful. Please watch it. They bring in one of their friends, or the warrior nun, Shannon, who is currently dying. She has been struck with divinium, which is the only thing that can kill her, and so they have to take the halo out of her back, which is basically declares her the warrior nun, and she ends up dying. So they've been pursued by some mercenaries, and the woman takes the halo and she puts it into the dead girl, Ava's, back for safekeeping because human skin dampens the halo's energy signature, and then our girl Ava wakes up. And that's like the first like whole scene. So like if that doesn't entice you to go watch it, what I loved about this story the most is all of the wonderful characters in it. You have 2 bad guys. You have a cardinal who is kind of on the side of religion and thinking that science and religion can't exist together. And then you have a woman who is trying to use science to save her son. And I think that dichotomy of like between science and religion is such a fascinating concept that I think needs to be explored more, especially within supernatural or paranormal kind of fiction, because I think that relationship is such an interesting one. And I'm in the camp of they exist on the same coin and they're kind of parallel to each other, but they don't like to overlap because mortal people don't like them to overlap. So you have all these awesome kick-ass women. 90% of the cast is women. I think there's 3 or 4 guys in the entire show. Ava is awesome. Our main character, she is a quadriplegic, and basically the halo gives her back both her life and her limbs. She was in a car accident when she was younger and her mother died, but she was left in an orphanage in Spain, and that's where she has remained for the rest of the time. So of course she just wants to live her own life. She wants to do her own thing. She keeps running away from the warrior nuns like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to fight demons. But at the end of the day, she has a good heart and she inevitably comes around. and decides to help them because they have to fight demons. There's also a lot of bureaucracy and political things that are kind of subtly moving and kind of going on. Pope dies at the end, and the guy who you think is the villain, Giretti, takes over as Pope, which is insane. It's awesome. There are so many great things. I love Beatrice. Sister Beatrice is such badass, but she's also so kind and so wonderful. Shotgun Mary is hilarious. I love the way that she basically brings Ava around, because I think she understands Ava as kind of this outsider to faith, because Ava is not a faith-based person. Shotgun Mary is not technically a nun, she didn't take her vows, but she still works for them. I think the female relationships in this are so awesome. They're also different, they're so complex, and so great. They really are. I think there were a couple weak points. Of course, the weak points I think are the potential queer baiting. This entire show is incredibly queer-coded, especially Beatrice and Ava's relationship. I think what I'm kind of hoping is that they will go down the road of interacting and having their relationship grow organically, and then have them develop a relationship in like the 4th or 5th season. See them as very much a slow burn kind of thing, and I would prefer that they not shove another male romance down my throat with Ava, because it was very unconvincing. Or at least if you are going to do that, make the guy a little bit better, which rolls into my second point, which is JC, who is the guy that Ava ends up kind of she thinks she falls in love with. That's kind of bullshit in my opinion. She definitely wasn't in love with him. Who's in love with a guy you've met for 3 minutes? However, she is a young girl who has never experienced anything, because she's been a quadriplegic since she was 7, so, you know, I can't blame her. You know, I'd probably be in love with the first guy who saved me from the pool, you know, because, you know, that's how that works. However, my mother pointed this out when we were watching. She was like, JC, so, Jesus Christ? And if they pull that on me, I will take back all my criticism I said about it, because that's hilarious. Although JC did have sex with Ava, so that might be a little bit strange. But I think it might be allusion to Jesus Christ, and that would be hilarious. So, you know, props to them if they do it. Watch me come back and watch this video like 4 years from now and see that I was right. Or I may be completely wrong and he'll never come back again. I hope so. He was kind of annoying. He was an okay character. He was alright. He didn't ruin it, but I do think he stuck around for far too long with Ava's storyline. I think they could have cut him out like an episode or 2 earlier than they did. So, besides those 2 things, I'm really interested in season 2. I believe they renewed it. I don't think it's been officially announced yet, but I do believe they did. There is rumor that they will continue to produce it, because I think it was the #1 trending TV show that Netflix had within the last couple months. I highly recommend it. Please go watch it. 5 out of 5 stars. It was super entertaining. And the last thing that I finished in July, which I'm actually cheating because I finished it in August, and I've been talking about it non-stop all over everywhere, is the Umbrella Academy Season 2. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you have not watched Umbrella Academy Season 1, what are you doing with your life, first of all? I need to take a drink if you haven't watched it. But if you haven't watched it, please go watch it, and then watch Season 2. And be thankful you didn't have to wait an entire year to watch it. Umbrella Academy Season 2. If you don't know what the Umbrella Academy is about, just a quick lowdown. In 1989, 47 women, I believe it was, maybe 42, 40-some women, miraculously became pregnant when they had not been pregnant the previous day, and gave birth to children. A rich billionaire comes and says, hey, here's money for your child. Adopts 7 of them, trains them, is a horrible dickish father to them. They grow up with a lot of trauma. One of them ends up dying, another one ends up vanishing into the ether and they don't know what happens to him, and now we have lots of childhood trauma. And that's all you really need to know about it. It has time travel, it has romance, it has craziness, it has such good characters and awesome moments, except for the fact that Ellen Page does not play a very convincing straight person, and I don't blame her. She's not straight. You know what? Spoilers are gonna begin now, because I'm kind of glad that she ended up murdering the serial killer that she was dating. Can I blame her? Absolutely not. Whew. Season 2 opens with right after the ending of Season 1. They're in 1960. I didn't know I needed more 1960s period dramas until right now. It's Pinot Grigio, man. It does not taste like Pinot Grigio. Does wine expire? I mean, this is easy to drink, but it's also zesty, which is what it says on the back. Zesty, fresh, and easy to drink. Ain't that the goddamn truth? I really love this season. I think this season was even better than Season 1. I think Season 1 at points had areas where it dragged, or where it was very obvious that plot points were working behind the scenes that ended up coming to fruition in Season 2, which I really appreciated. My favorite character is 5. How can it not be? So fucking funny. It's incredible. I think Luther is finally done being a dumb bitch. I I hated him in season 1. I hated him so much. I hated him at the beginning of season 2, and kind of as he still obsesses over Allison, his sister, which in the words of Klaus, if you have to say technically, it's still incest. I don't think that's the exact quote, but you know what I'm talking about. I think his character arc in season 2 is well done. I think he grows a lot as a person. I think the fact that you don't focus on him as much is really nice, because I think he's definitely the kind of character that I need space from. Like, I can only handle so many scenes of Luther before I'm like, bitch, I'm not here for this. Keep him out of here. Go away. We don't have it. I love Diego. I hate the fact that his hair looks like that. Someone get that boy a better weave or cut his fucking hair. But again, he's bringing that big himbo energy that I need. I need a man like Diego. That man is a himbo. He drinks his respect wham and juice. And man, I love Diego so much. The fact that he gets betrayed by Lila in the end is so fucking sad. I love Allison. I think her whole plotline with 1960s civil rights movement is so poignant and so good. And Ray Chestnut, what a man. What a wonderful man. He is like, they have really done a service with Ray Chestnut, because he was an incredible character who I felt immediately connected to and really liked from the moment we met him. And I didn't really like Allison in the first season. I think there was a lot of flaws with her, which is normal. I think that was kind of the purpose of Allison. That was kind of part of her character arc, as being unlikable. And then you really see, I think, in more depth the way that their powers affect them, especially with Allison. I think it's very much with Allison, it's very much with Vanya, it's very much with Klaus. I think that they as siblings really feel the effects of their powers, really kind of tap into the darker sides of them, which I think is so fascinating. I love that so much. Like, so much. Like, give me that shit all the fucking time. I have nothing but time for that. But I think her relationship with Ray really gave me an opportunity to love her, and really brought me to a place where I appreciated Allison. And I think going forward into season 3, I will love Allison even more. It gave her a warmth that I didn't know that I wanted. And I don't think it's just Ray. I think it was also her relationship with the ladies at the hairdresser. I think it was her relationship with her siblings when they came here. I think it was her kind of learning that she can't use her powers for everything, which is such a good character arc for her. It really works. I think Klaus's character development is awesome. His plotline is so good. The fact that he leads a cult is so in character. It's ridiculous how in character that is for him, and I am so here for it. He had so many amazing one-liners and zingers, and he is forever probably one of my favorite characters. He's probably 2 after 5. But I think Klaus's relationship with Ben is something that was underutilized in this season. I think it could have been brought out more, but I understand that there's a time limit, and there's only 10 episodes, so you can't fit everything that I would want in, you know, if I had my way, it'd be 20 episodes and so much more added into it. But I think what I got, I'm satisfied with. I think the fact that he tries to go and see Dave and buys pink paint and then ends up getting punched by him is like so heartbreaking, but also I get it. Like, this is 1960s, like, come on, he's not just going to declare his undying gay love for Klaus in the middle of a diner. You know, that's just not gonna happen. So I think overall, Klaus was really well done. I've seen some criticism that his storyline was weaker. I just think that the other siblings' storylines have really slapped, and it's more on par. Because I think Klaus's storyline last season was the best one of them all, and now he's kind of on even par with everyone else. So I don't think it's weaker. I just think it's kind of the same as before, but you know, I'm satisfied. 5, oh my god. His relationship with the handler is both so creepy and so funny at the same time. Like, I've seen so many good memes about it. Like, this "You Like Jazz" one, so funny. So fucking funny. The fact that they probably banged, I don't feel good about. But then again, it was Old 5, which we got to see Old 5, which I'm so happy about seeing Old 5 too. Because it's so fun. I'm so glad we got to keep Young 5 though, because I don't think I could handle Old 5. Like, Young 5 is funny because he's an old man in a young body, but I couldn't handle having Old 5 instead of Young 5. As usual, 5 is glowing, spectacular, funny, sharp, but I also, oh my god, what I love the most about 5, and this is why he's my favorite character, is because of how much he cares about his siblings. I'm so soft for that. You can see how much he loves them, even though they're all so fucking dumb. They're so dumb. literally the dumbest creatures on this entire earth. I love them because they're dumb, but Five, from the very beginning of the series, has constantly wanted to get back to his siblings. He was humbled, I think, by the arrogance of the fact that he went back and jumped forward in time and got stuck, and then saw all of his siblings die, and that never left him. He saw all of his siblings dead, and he was forever changed by that. And that continues to carry on, especially in the way he talks to Vanya, in the way that he uses his power to go back seconds instead of decades to save them all. It's so beautiful, and I think that's such a great aspect of his character, because Five is very prickly, he's very, snarky and sarcastic and cold, and, doesn't really, thinks his siblings are idiots, which they are. But I just generally think that the way that he treats his siblings and the way that he cares about them is such a wonderful addition to the story that I really appreciate that they put into his character, and have continued throughout this, because I love the way he loves his siblings. I think it's great. Ben, I was heartbroken when he gave himself up to basically save Vanya and save the world, but mostly to save Vanya. And I think Ben and Vanya's relationship is something that we'll get probably more of later on, especially as Vanya deals with kind of the grief of losing Ben again. And I think we'll see more of Ben's relationships with his siblings, because I think he was definitely very close to Vanya, because there's a lot of linguistic tells in the conversation he has with Vanya about kind of his understanding of her, especially since he's 6 and then Vanya's 7, and kind of understanding her, especially as he's basically been an outsider for 17 years. Like Vanya has been an outsider for the majority for all of her life, actually. So I think there's an understanding there that I really liked, and I really liked Ben's character, and I like that he got a little bit of a moment to live life again, a second chance for just a little bit by taking over Klaus's body, which I think is an interesting choice that might become relevant later. As for Vanya, still great. I love Sissy. I love their relationship. I think it was done so well. It blossomed so naturally. And I love the fact that they showed that Vanya really falls in love and realizes that without the trauma of her memories, she can love, and she is capable of it, and she isn't a monster. She doesn't know she has these powers, but she can use them for good, and I think that's a really powerful message that I'm really grateful that they put in there, because I was a little weary of the fact that she lost her memories, because sometimes memory loss tropes are overused and overdone and done in a poor fashion, but I definitely think Vanya's was done in an excellent way, and I cannot commend the writers for it enough. It is amazing. Her relationship with Harlan is awesome. Her relationship with Sissy is awesome. I'm so glad Carl is dead. And then quickly just to talk about Lila for a second. I think that's what the only place that they did him dirty was. Lila's story arc. Because I really was interested in her in the beginning, and then I kind of guessed after she told Diego the story of her parents that she was a spy of some sort. And then you find out that she's the handler's daughter. And I don't really believe that Lila is dumb enough to believe that Five would tell Diego the things that he had done. I guess I can kind of believe, because Lila probably doesn't know that Five is was the old man for 45 years and experienced the apocalypse. But at the end of the day, I do think that her story arc in episode 10 in particular could have been better fleshed out. I think it kind of sped along her thing, and it was very much a plot device, whereas I think you definitely could have used her character arc to be a lot stronger. And I think if she had ended up staying with the 7 of them, or the 6 of them, I guess, Ben was dead by that point, dead again by that point, I should say, I think having her stay with them would have been a more powerful message than having her just run off. There's that. The handler is finally dead. Thank God. She was so annoying. I can't believe she ate AJ. That was a horrible scene. I was cringing my face off. That was bad. I didn't like her. But I think I was meant to not like her. I liked her enough. I liked her as a villain, is what I'm going to say. So, as a wrap-up, Umbrella Academy Season 2, 5 out of 5 stars for me. I loved it. Again, please go watch it. I'm going to probably watch it again because it's so great. I'm sure there's stuff about it that I missed. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for this video. Those are all the things that I watched in July and enjoyed and consumed content-wise in July. I'm going to finish up this glass of wine. I'm going to regret this, aren't I? Things I do for you. Things I do for love. Oh god. Please, someone tell me not to make an entire drunk video about how much I hate the end of Game of Thrones. Oh my god, I can't. I barely put anything in there, but, YOLO. Alright. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a couple laughs. I hope maybe you have some recommendation now to watch and go, you know, have fun watching. Hit like if you really like this video. Hit subscribe if you would like so you can see more of my rambling face. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I will see you in my next video. Ooh! Oh my god. Like, that wasn't even a shot. See you guys later. Bye!